face. I can't show my face at the moment because of the situation of things in town, the light situation. But I'm hoping that they restore powers so that I can turn on my video. But pending that time, um, definitely we would have um, my, we'll just have the audio from my end without my face. Okay. Okay. So let's proceed. So good evening, everybody, once again. I'm so glad to have us here. I'm really excited to have us here. So I'll be sharing my screen right away. I'll be sharing my screen right away. Okay, let me see if I can share my screen. Yes. All right. Good evening, everybody. Please let me know if you can see my screen now. I'll be glad to know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Please let me know. I'm expecting our responses. Can we see my screen? Okay. I don't know why I can't see the charts, but I believe okay, I believe we all, you can just unmute because I can't see all our comments at the moment. So you can just unmute to say that, okay.
I can see,
All right,
I can see the screen.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful. Okay, so we'll move on. Yeah. So sorry, let me do something. Do something. Sorry, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute. I'm going to stop sharing screen. Okay. Okay. Trying to. Yeah. Okay. So we're all welcome to this workshop. So it's called Beginning the End. Okay, and I would explain to us why it is called that shortly. It's called Beginning the End, and let me start by saying, can you hear me? Can you all hear me? Okay. So let me start by saying that we all remember how it was when we began, our tertiary education, when going to school and all those things, how we had to, do the admission process and all that. And I believe that we know how competitive it was in that. Before you know it, you got into school, and before you know it, you have to write your project, and something that sometimes can be very baffling, at least from a personal experience. I know that, right? So this is just what we're going to be. I'm hoping that we get to do within 1 hour tonight. This is what we're going to be looking at in the next, let's say, 45 minutes, because I don't want to keep us for too long tonight. We're going to be, first of all, be talking about, we're just going to introduce ourselves briefly for those of us who are here. And I'm going to talk about academic research. We're going to tell us, we're going to talk about a project, and then we're going to talk about how to choose a project topic and how to develop a good proposal. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to cover all of this within um, the time frame. So right now, I would be needing us to unmute our mics and just, just introduce yourself. Tell us your name, your institution, and your course of study. And I think we're very fine with that. So who's going to start? Who's starting with that? Who's starting that for us?
Okay, my name is David Ezonogo from UNIZIK, course
Oh,
of study linguistics. Thank you.
thank you, David. It's so good to have you here. Thank you very much. Who is going next?
My name is Matthias Columbus from University of Uyo, studying linguistics and Nigerian languages.
Okay, thank you very much, Matthias. Sorry, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute and then I'll share it again. Okay, yeah, I'm with us. Who's next?
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Temitope Fentoluwa Motola from the University of Ibadan Sister Learning Center. I'm studying psychology. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're very much welcome. Okay, I don't know if there's still anyone around. If none, then I think we can move on. Okay, sorry, I was trying to put some things in place. Okay, so back to share my screen. Okay, yes, I believe you can all see my screen. Yeah, so who am I? Well, basically, this is just all about me. I'm Emmanuel Latupupu Adegbi. Emmanuel Latupupu Adegbi, that's my name. I'm a linguist. I studied linguistics at the University of Ibadan. So I know that I think I'm likely to have a couple of linguists here. I'm a creative, I'm a brand identity designer, I'm a podcaster, also an artist, a book publisher. I mean, I'm into the creative space, a lot of things there. I'm a founder, yeah, founder Dr. Neji, talks about that later. I'm an author and I'm a graduate of UI. I have my bachelor's and my master's degree from the University of Ibadan. So that's a summary of who I am. And yeah, basically. So let's move into what we have for today very quickly. Yeah, so let's start from this point. Let's talk about research, academic research per se. So what do we mean when we talk about research? And the first thing I'm going to say is that research generally is all about finding answers to existing questions and solutions, and finding solutions to problems systematically using established methods in a domain. Let me say that again. Research is finding answers to existing questions and finding solutions to problems systematically using established methods in a domain. Okay. I'm going to be explaining what I mean by that later on. And that thing, now, having said that, what then is academic research? Academic research is doing research. We've talked about research already, right? Which is finding answers to questions that are already existing, finding solutions to problems in a systematic manner, that is step by step, using established methods within a domain. So before I move on, let me just do a bit of explanation, which is that research generally is there are questions you are trying to find the answer for. Okay. And that should motivate your project journey. There are questions you're trying to answer. There are things that are of concern to you in that sense. There are problems you're trying to solve, depending on your field of study now. And it is systematic. That is, research is very systematic. There's a step-by-step process to it. You start this way, move this way. That's why our projects have a particular structure. You get what I'm saying? You know, that kind of thing. And then you now have established methods. So each field of study, each domain has its own methods. The way they do research in the sciences is the very way they do it in the arts and humanities, is different from the way they do it in the social sciences, different from the way they do it in should I say a Greek, that kind of thing. So these things vary from one domain to the other. And that's why I said using established methods in a domain. So the methods you are using are the methods that are very particular and peculiar to research in that domain, all right, domain specific. So academic research then is therefore you doing research within the academic space. So that means your questions are going to be primarily academic. Your questions, your problems are going to be, the problems you're looking to solve are going to be largely academic. That doesn't mean they are not, that doesn't mean they don't have societal implications, but it's just that they are largely academic. Okay. Then you have the use of academic theories. That's where we talk about systematic, I mean, being systematic and using established methods. And then I've talked about conceptual theoretical questions because it's largely academic. It's something that deals with the mind. Okay. Now, so research is basically steered by curiosity about the subject matter. Okay. So that means that the starting point of every research is curiosity. Is like, you're wondering, okay, what's this all about? How does this work? They said this thing about this. How does it work? What's it all about? Okay. So for example, let me talk about my undergraduate research, for example. I'm a linguist, okay, so I deal with languages, and my project topic was um, basically aspects of Obulum tone system. Obulum is a language spoken in Port Harcourt, and I was looking at some areas of it, particularly as to whether there are contour tones in the language or not. What basically stated though was that I was on the field and we wanted to, we're gathering data, and then we had this issue of discussing how many tones and the language, how many are not, are there contour tones and all this. So I'm trying to figure out how many tones are there and if, they are contour tones. So that was what stated that, okay, even if they are contour tones, are they unitary contours? Or are they split contours? Maybe they are just contours that are a combination of two level tones. Those who are linguists would understand better. So it's a curiosity that basically steers it, and I believe you can relate that to your discipline. Okay, so let's move on. Now let's come back to this definition of research, this is not actually a general definition of research. This is just me conceptualizing. Okay. Now, I said research is generally all about finding answers to existing questions and solutions to problems systematically using established methods in the domain. Now, three things, or let me say four things are quite important here. You look at the words that are in bold, and that is existing questions, problems systematically, and established methods. So what does that tell us? Now, existing questions. That talks about research questions and research gaps. Okay, if you're with me, please just let me know in the chat. Research questions and research gaps. So, that tells you that your project, your academic endeavor cannot be in a vacuum. I know you get my point. It can't be in a vacuum, okay, because there's something that is already existed. There's something that is already on point that you've been learning, that you've been talking about. Okay, I would have loved to come to the concept of an undergraduate thesis right now, but I would be jumping ahead of myself. That's why I'm not doing that right now. But basically, there is what we call existing questions. Okay, things that are questions that people are already asking. There's something. So you're in psychology. There's something people are already talking about. Okay, that would form the basis of your research. There's some people are already talking about. You are in linguistics. There's something people are already talking about. You get me? You are in let's assume someone is in mass communication. There's something people are already talking about. All right. That's I said existing question. Okay. There are questions people are asking already around that thing. You get what I'm saying? Now, so that's where things like research questions and research gaps come in. Okay. Now, another thing we see there is problems. Okay. And that is where our research question and research gap also. Sorry, there's a mistake in the slide, but that's supposed to be where you have statement of the problem, your problem statement and all those things. I'm sorry for that. I'll fix that and I'll send that to us in the final slide. Now then you have the systematically and established methods. And then you have things like your methodology and theoretical framework. Why? Because research is systematic. Okay, there's a process, there's a step-by-step thing to it. Okay? There's a step-by-step thing to research. I don't know if you get my point. So if you're with me, please let me know in the chat so that I can know you're following through. There's a step-by-step process to research. So it's systematic, and that's why you have things like methodology. Remember that we're talking about all of these things within a framework, within an established context, okay, which in this case will be your academic discipline. All right, we have established methods and theoretical framework. Okay, so now, like I said, research varies across disciplines. So because the way we do research in linguistics, for example, I don't know the way they conduct psychological research. Thank you, Matthias. In terms of the way they conduct psychological research, the method you will use has to be specific. Now, not just specific to your discipline, but specific to the subject of inquiry. Okay, I will explain that later on, but it has to be specific to the subject of inquiry. Same thing with theories. Okay, just like someone says something, he says the search that would become a research usually begins with the awareness of an intellectual gap within the field. Okay, I found that somewhere. And that's according to Oladosu, Noibi, and Omofoyewa, 2019. They said the search that would become a research, okay, because remember we are searching for answers and solutions. So that search that will end up becoming a research usually begins with the awareness of an intellectual gap waiting to be filled. Okay, that's what I talked about. If you go to the previous slide, talked about finding answers to existing questions and searching for and solving problems systematically. So there are answers you're trying to find, there are solutions you're trying to look for. So that is a search, okay? And usually begins with the awareness of an intellectual gap. That's why I said existing questions. You're looking at it systematically and all those things. All right. I don't know if you understood what I just said. Can I move on? Please let me know if you're still with me. I don't know if you're still with me. Okay, I can't get our feedback yet, but I'll just move on. Okay. Now let's dive into this. So what then is the project? Okay, having understood okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, having understood the concept of the research. Sorry for the that's my alarm. Sorry. Now, having understood the concept of, to a basic extent, academic research, all right, having that, knowing that you have to find some things and all that. What then do we mean by a project? Was an undergraduate thesis in another way. Now, the International Open University calls an undergraduate thesis an original independent research project undertaken by the student with the guidance of a faculty supervisor that culminates in an appropriately researched and structured research paper. Now, remember we talked about research already, right? So we've known about research. So a research paper then is a paper that summarizes that gives the detail of your research. Okay. So number one, some of the things I want us to note here is that number one, it is original. Okay. Number two, key thing there is that it is independent. All right. And it's undertaken by the student. So number one, research is supposed to be original. And that's why personally I don't buy the idea of people giving their project work or research people to do for them, because that is no longer original and it's not the student doing it. I don't know why Zoom is saying I have 9 minutes left, even though we've not started this meeting. We just started this meeting. So if this is what is happening. I might have to stop the meeting shortly and restart again. So please, I'll let us know that because Zoom is telling me I have 8 minutes. 9 minutes, and I don't know why. Okay, so now let's get back to what I was saying. So it is original, it is independent. So in that sense, you are not supposed, nobody's going to help you because it's supposed to be your own work. It's supposed to be your own study. It's an independent research. All right. It's an independent research project undertaken by the student. So you are the one that is to do it with the guidance of a faculty supervisor. And that tells you the role of a supervisor already is to guide. Though later on, I hope maybe in one of these days we'll get to talk about the role of a supervisor and how to navigate your relationship with the supervisor. Now it culminates in an appropriately researched and structured research plan. So what does that mean? It means that the undergraduate thesis, your research, is the proof that you understand and have a good grasp of what you've been taught from year one down to your final year. What does that mean? I'm saying that I wanted to look at it in this sense of your project work is basically the summation of maybe you are doing a 4 years course or a 5 years course. That's how we test that you have understood what you're being. Just like the way, at the end of every semester, you write exams, at the end of every semester, you write exams, you write tests, CAs in between, trying to, everybody trying to test what you've known and all those things. The same way a research paper, or a research, academic research, a thesis or a undergraduate project basically is your department saying, okay, you come into this school for 4, 5, 6, whatever years, and you said you studied, for example, I'm a linguist, I said, okay, you come to study how languages work, how languages behave, the methods we use to analyze language, the principles and all those things that pertain to language. And claims to have mastered it. So how then do we know? So these things that you've learned, these methods, these principles, these concepts that you've learned, apply to the real world, okay? And let us have you do something with it. Okay, the theories you've learned, apply it. The questions you think we can ask as linguists or as psychologists, ask it and, do something tangible. As I said, it's a proof that you've understood and have a good grasp of what you've been taught all through the years. So that's like the summation of your teaching. That's summation of all the things you've learned thus far. Okay, so I don't know if you have any question up to that point, and then I would end the meeting so I can restart it and then we have a good few minutes, and then I'll continue from there. So I don't know if you have any questions up to this moment about what I've said so far. Any questions? I'm waiting for our responses. I'm waiting for our responses. You can unmute yourself if you want to. So, okay, no questions. Thank you very much for intro. David Matthias. Okay. Okay, in the absence of that, so what we'll do right now is I'm going to end this meeting so that I can start again. Then I'll share the screen. I'll share the link on the group page. So please just go check the group page right now. Once I end this meeting for the new link so that we can have more time. I don't know why Zoom is counting me down, but let's just do that. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll meet again shortly. Thank you. Now that we've understood what research is, now that we've understood what an undergraduate project is, when we're asking you to write a project, when you come to your department and the department says, hey, you guys have to write a project and all those things, trying to ask, now that we know what it means to do all of those, how then do we select a project topic? Okay, how do I know? Okay, I don't know if I may ask, how many of us right now are thinking about writing a project? If you are, supposed to be writing a project at the moment, can you just maybe put an emoji, maybe show your hands or something if you're supposed to be writing a project right now, or you're closer to that time where you're supposed to be writing a project. Maybe you're almost starting in a month or two, or you've already started or something. Let me just see. You can just tell me which one situation you fall into. I'm waiting for our responses. Okay, Matthias. Okay, I'm fine with that. Okay, let's just move on. Okay, now there are different factors that influence you picking a project topic. Okay, and one of the first thing is your interest. Then you have your academic strength and expertise. You have consultation, checking library or previous works and relevance in terms of current research focus across the globe. And then you have praying and receiving divine inspiration. So I'm going to talk about all of this in bits, okay? I'm going to talk about all of them. Now, interest. Now, the fact is, I believe that within all of the things you're learning in school, even if it's a course that you actually didn't desire to, study, maybe something or a situation or all those things was what motivated you studying it, there will definitely be something that interests you. Sorry, there will definitely be something that interests you amongst all of it. You get, and so that your interest is something that naturally would well your choice as a project topic. And not just academic interest now, we also have general interest, right? For people, I mean, for an example I like to give is someone I know who is a fashion designer she's a linguist, right? And a fashion designer, and did a project in linguistics in something related to fashion. All right. We know people who are passionate about tech and how to find a way, to put it in. So interest is very key. Interest is very key. Then you have your academic strength and expertise. Now, I don't know if it happens in other universities. For the University, but I know that your academic strength is one of the things that determines where they allocate you. So if, for example, as a linguist, they have maybe like 5, 6 basic fields of study. You have phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, and semantics, right? There are more, but those are like the 5 basic types of, subs on the grammar, right? Now, if you are interested in, for example, phonology, and your academic result over the years says you are good in syntax, one of the things that would influence that is that, it's possible for the department to put you in syntax against your will. So a lot of times, if you see that there's a particular aspect that you know more, right, that you know more, and it seems like, okay, you've been getting good grades academically in that area, stick to that area. Find your research topic in that area and stop stressing yourself, because in the long run, the goal is to get a good grade. You can pursue that your interest later, right? So that's something to think about. Then there's consultation. You don't want to take away the place of consulting with senior colleagues and lecturers on a project topic. I remember how for my master's thesis, I sat with one of my senior colleagues and we talked for a long time on, okay, if that would be the best route rather, if that would be a good option for me and all those things. So consultation is very vital. Then, okay, let me just stay a bit on this consultation. I remember my final year as an undergrad, my topic had to be changed for ethical reasons. And I was almost like a few weeks away from deadline. All right. So I was a bit sad and I had to go and meet a senior friend of mine from my campus fellowship. And then he was, okay, what did you say your work is? And then before you know it, he started giving me ideas. Someone that is in what is it now? Geography, building sciences and all those things, coming to start telling me things about linguistics. I was surprised. But it was because I consulted him. That was I was able to pick a good project topic. And I enjoyed it. They also have taken the library of previous works. I don't know if your school has a library, go online, search for previous works in your field, search for current trends. Things that would make sense to study in the Nigerian context. Check them out in the library, check out previous works too. Okay. Now, another thing is relevance in terms of current research focus across the globe. So now another thing is that because research is not doing that solution, there is an established standard, okay, in a way. So one thing you must do is ensure that your topic, so to speak, is relevant in terms of current research focus across the globe. So you want to do something that is meaningful. Especially if you are looking at transitioning into academia, you want your work to be meaningful from the get-go. All right. And lastly, you have to pray and receive inspiration. Yes, you can't undermine that. And personally, I'm someone that loves to state that if you pray, the Lord can lead you, the Lord can guide you. All right. If you pray, the Lord can lead you, the Lord can guide you, and you know how to get a good research topic. So now let's move to a proposal. Okay. So I was speaking with a couple of persons a while ago, earlier in the year, I believe, and I was talking around this. And I used the analogy of, a guy wants to marry a lady. Okay. Now, if you are for the guy now, for example, there are a lot of ladies that you could there are a lot of ladies around that you feel like, okay, um I want to marry one of them, right? Choosing who to marry is like that of choosing a proposal topic. I mean a project topic. Okay. Now the other would not be, okay, you decided, okay, this person I'm marrying. So how would you tell the person that you're the one I want to get married to? That's where project proposal comes in. All right. So how then do we craft a good proposal? How then do we craft a good proposal? Let's move on. Now, there are three aspects to crafting a good proposal. Okay. There are three aspects to crafting a good proposal. And I think it applies almost anywhere, even to relationships. And that's the what, the why, and the how. These are three questions you must ask yourself. You're going to have a good proposal. What, when, what, why, and how. I will explain all of this things shortly. What I mean by what, why, and how. Let's move on. What? Now, I structured these things basically based on the structure of a good proposal. You get my point, okay? But I'm going to be explaining some of the things that I think, okay, in line with this. All right. Now, what is basically the question of what are you doing? What do you want to do? Okay. If I'm going to use pigeon, I'll say waiting you won't do. Okay. That's exactly the question of what are you interested in studying? Okay. What are you interested in studying? What is that thing that a guy is saying bring a proposal. The thing is, what do you want to study? What's that thing that really interests you? What's that thing that you desire to study? Okay, that's the word basically. Or let me say, it answers, you have to answer things like, what do you want to study? Why do you want to study? Sorry, what do you want to study? What's it all about? What about it? A lot of questions about what, okay? And that's why you have things like the introduction, the problem statement, the background to the study, the literature review, research aim and objectives, and the likes, and research questions, okay? Because they answer the question of what. All right, they answer the question of what. So your introduction is something like trying to say, okay, this study is this and this and that and that and that, an introduction, basically trying to introduce this subject matter. Okay, there's the background to the study. Generally, a background to the study is like the scholarly perspectives, or maybe, general perspectives about the work in question that gives a good background. Okay, that helps talk about the thing you are trying to study, that gives a background to it. Okay, I'll talk about problem statement soon. Okay, there's a literature review as part of your proposal now, not the project itself, literature review. There's literature review where you briefly talk about past literature. Okay, there's that. there's research aim and objective. Okay, I'll talk about research aim and objective. I don't know if I can talk about that tonight, but if not, I might probably do it as voice notes on the group chat, or type it out if I'm chance tonight. Okay, but there's research aim and objective. But let me say this ahead, that you can only have one aim and a couple of objectives. Okay, and there's now your research questions. Research questions are basically the questions you are trying to answer. Remember I said at the beginning that research is all about questions. Okay, there's a question you're trying to find an answer to. There's a problem that needs a solution. That's why you have something like a problem statement. So, and there are two kinds of problems in research. Okay, there's either an academic problem or a societal problem. Okay, so if, for example, Fenitolua is trying to study, assuming, okay, the effects of um social media, increased social media consumption on the rate of let's say drug addiction. Okay, drug addiction, let's just assume that's what Fenitolua wants to study. She's in psychology, right? So she wants to look at how um consuming social media content tends to add result in addiction to harmful substances, to drugs and all those things. Now, there can be two types of problems for that. Academically, academic problem is that thing has not been studied. Oh, thank you, Jesus. That has not been studied in research. Okay, academically, it is not yet found. There's no study about it. All the previous works, all the previous scholars that have done something like that. Sorry, I want to stop sharing my screen for a minute so that I can do something quickly. Okay. But as I was saying, when you have something like trying to figure out, okay, people over the years have not studied that particular phenomenon. Maybe all the work so far have looked at how social media results in what's it now? Results in, sorry. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think I can turn on my video now. Yes. So I believe you can see my face right now. And I can share my screen with us too. Okay. Yes. So yeah, I believe you can see my screen now, and this is good. Okay. So let me move forward very quickly. Yeah, this is where we are. Yes. So yeah. So I was talking about sorry. I was talking about problem statement. Okay. Now, so I was trying to explain an academic problem. I was trying to, explain what it is for you to have an academic problem per se. All right. So now I was saying that, for example, in that Fahintolua rather, in that study, most of the persons that have studied the problem in view have not really done it from that perspective. So one academic problem would be that there is not much study, not much research on the effects of social media. I mean, increase social media content, consumption of social media content, sorry, on the rate of drug addiction. Okay. Now, that is an academic problem. Okay. Academic problem because in academic literature, that has not been discussed yet. Okay. So that's why we call it an academic problem. But, okay. So let me note this. So we could have Sorry, my alarm. Yeah. So we have academic problem, and we could have societal. So there are two, so academic problem and societal. All right. Sorry, just give me a minute. Okay. Sorry. All right. So you could have an academic problem, or so now societal problem in that situation. Please let me know if you're with me. Let me know if you're still with me, please. The societal problem in this case would be that how does knowing this help us address the issue of drug addiction? I don't know if you get what I'm saying. How does knowing, I mean, people are saying that, okay, young people who do a lot of social media tend to be addicted to drugs. That's a societal problem because drug addiction itself is a problem in society. Okay. So if we're going to say, okay, we have a societal problem, it is that young persons are given to drugs. And it looks like it happens because they do a lot of social media. That's a societal problem. All right. Now, research gap in this case will be that number one, no study has been done to be able to tell us why that is happening. Okay. And no study has been done to tell us what can be done to fix it. Okay. So something like the background to the study, we have to tell us something like what it is about drug addiction, tell us about social media, the rate of social media consumption, and all those things. That's what a background to study will do, trying to tell us all those things to give us a good background to that research. Okay. Literature review, I don't want to talk about that now. We'll talk about it later on. Then there's research aim and objective. And now let me link aim and objective to research questions. Your aim and objective, your aim is basically why are you doing this thing? What do you intend to gain from it? I don't know if you get my point. What do you hope to find out by studying this thing? Okay, that is your aim. Okay, and like I said earlier, you can only have one aim. You can have more than one aim. Okay, now objectives. Your objectives is basically you breaking down your aims into basic bits. Okay, breaking down your aim into bits so that you can measure how you're achieving them. Okay, so objectives now. So for example, Fenchulua's objective, for example, can be something like number one, to identify the causes of social media addiction. Okay, to identify the causes of addiction to harmful substances. Okay, drug abuse or drug addiction. Another would now be to to identify or examine the relationship between high level social media consumption and drug abuse in the country. All right. That those could be a kind of objective. Now your research questions will now be in a very simple way. So you ask yourself, how do I find research questions? Research questions is basically you converting your objective to questions. So for example, objective one is to identify the causes of social media addiction. So your research question one will be, what are the causes of social media addiction? Objective two is to identify the causes of sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. To identify the causes of drug addiction. Okay. And one of the research questions will be, what are the causes of drug addiction? Another thing you must realize when you are developing a research question is use measurable. Oh, sorry, this is 10:04 already, so I have to run. If I can't finish it because I want us to do 1 hour this night, I can continue from there tomorrow. But I think if I deal with this why, I think I'll be very fine. And then we'll continue from there tomorrow. But let me just
stop at Y. Okay. I would really have loved to have us deal with a proposal, but as time would have it, so we'll do that tomorrow. Okay. So let me finish up with that. So I was talking about research objective and research questions. Okay. Research objective and research questions. So now I said basically that objectives and questions. Okay. And one of the things I said is that basically that you convert your objectives to questions. That's the simplest way. Or if it is the question that you have, first of all, there are questions you're asking. I remember I said that I quoted someone saying that the search that becomes a research starts with a question. Okay. So one thing you do is you convert your questions to a statement, and one of those you use is use measurable verbs. Something like to examine. How do you examine? It's not measurable. You're looking at something like you say identify, to highlight, to determine. They're measurable. Okay. Use measurable verbs. Okay. Yeah. So that's how you convert your aim and objective to research questions. Okay. So now, because of time, I promised us that we'll do 1 hour tonight. I don't know if we have questions before we wrap up for tonight, because I don't want to keep us late. And I also have some other engagement. Tomorrow, by God's grace, we'll continue from where I stopped today, and then we'll have to run a bit so that we can touch the main list for tomorrow. I'm really sorry that I couldn't delve into a lot for tonight because of timing and all those things. But let me see if we have questions, and then we'll move on from there. So any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Matthias, Omotola, sorry, Fentulua. Sorry. Any questions from us? Please. I'm waiting for us to respond. Are we there? Please, are we there? I want to know if we are still there, please.
Yes, I'm here. I don't have a question, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Matthias is not responding, but okay. Let me just so in that case, thank you very much, Feni Toloa. In that case, let's do this. I'll be wrapping up here tonight. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. And so this is, you can scan this code. I can save this as a picture and send to the group page, and have us get a way to watch it. So you can fill this form. You have, just to give feedback and questions about today. Tomorrow we'll pick it up from the why. We've done the what, and I believe you understand the what. So we'll come to the why later on tomorrow. And so if you have questions before then, you can also use this form. I'll paste the link on the group chat so they can all have access to the form. All right. So yeah, that's it. That's it. Thank you very much for joining in. I'm really glad to have us around. Thank you. See you all tomorrow. Thank you very much. God bless you.